May enjoy if I may stand on existing protocols. Good morning, everyone. And I'm glad to be here again in my second day in the Philippines and to have experienced my second typhoon. It wasn't as bad as I imagined. In fact, I'm actually surprised because we were worried last night that today might not happen. So I'm really, really thrilled to see all of you here. I've been asked to join in speaking about inclusive climate action, but to give a little bit of a perspective on what that means for us in Freetown. So I'm standing here both as the co-chair of C40 Cities for the Global South and as the mayor of Freetown. So in the first part of my remarks, I'll focus on being the mayor of Freetown. For many of you in the room, you may not have even heard of Freetown or know where we are. So let me start by telling you. Capital city of Sierra Leone in West Africa. And in terms of our geography, we are a small city compared to Gabon, 1.5 million people, and we are surrounded by a range of mountains and the Atlantic Ocean. What does climate change look like in Freetown? Like many of you, or in fact the whole world, particularly the Global South, climate change is already having a significant impact. The extreme weather conditions that we're seeing, the different changes that are happening to what used to be predictable weather patterns, particularly impact agriculture. So the city's first impact, or the city's most significant impact in terms of climate change, isn't necessarily what is happening in the city, but what's happening in rural areas. Crops are failing, harvests are failing, and so we see a move of people into our cities. Something I know you've experienced as well, when typhoons have led to people moving into Quezon City to look for other opportunities. So our population has grown. It's grown exponentially. And at the same time, unfortunately, our legislation is such that the city of Freetown doesn't have authority over land use planning and building permits. That means when people move into the city, the move is not planned. And consequently, we've seen a growth of informal settlements. And that growth has come with deforestation. So just painting the picture, a range of mountains, the Atlantic Ocean, people crowding into the city, cutting the trees, as we saw in the skit earlier on, cutting the trees, and that deforestation having dire consequences, landslides, flooding, and of course, heat. So that's what Freetown is experiencing in respect to climate change. So that's the impact coming in, but we also, of course, experience the extreme weather conditions. We see the heat, we see the extreme rain, heavy rainfall, and that mixture is what we're seeking to address in our Inclusive Climate Action Plan. So what does that look like in our city? Like Mayor Joy, I also was pleased and proud and privileged to be able to launch a Climate Action Plan in 2022. That Climate Action Plan built on our development agenda, an agenda which we designed in 2019, looking at 4 key areas: resilience of our city, human capital, healthy city, and urban mobility. And now, 2 years on and an election on, we are continuing our journey of our Inclusive Climate Action Plan, tied into our latest development agenda, known as Transform Freetown, Transforming Lives. We've gone from simply addressing the structural challenges that we experience with climate change to setting ourselves a very, very ambitious but realistic target of creating 120,000 decent jobs for women and youth by 2028. And where will those jobs come from? And how will they be tied into climate change and climate action? The beginning, starting point, the middle, and the center is communities. I want to applaud you this morning, the leaders of the village Can I get the pronunciation? Barangay. So can I see the hands up of all the barangay leaders in the room? I want to applaud you because I know here in Quezon City, you are the climate leaders. You're the climate action leaders, the frontline responders. And in Freetown, that's the approach we've taken as well. We've seen our communities and our community leaders as being the people who will make the difference. Because as the saying goes, nothing for me without me. So what we've been doing to address climate impact, to address the deforestation, to address the flooding, to address the landslides, to address the heat, has been to have communities at the heart of our plans. Freetown climate action is deeply connected to reducing inequalities in our communities by improving infrastructure, by increasing green spaces, creating good green jobs that not only protect our city from climate impacts, but also empower our residents and promote social equity. And if I may, I'll give just two examples, practical examples of what we're doing in that regard. I was really blown away by the state. I don't know how many people enjoyed that. I thought it was so powerful to see the transformation of the deforestation, the reliance on vehicles to a green, clean city. And in Freetown, a green, clean city is really at the heart of what we're doing in addressing climate change. We set ourselves a target in 2019 of planting and growing 1 million trees under a campaign called #Freetown the Tree Town. That campaign could not have succeeded without communities. We did not outsource to firms. We built in the involvement of our young people, of our community leaders, of our chiefs in our communities across the city. In Freetown, the Tree Town, we engaged community people, community-based organizations to be our climate ambassadors. We have over 5,000 climate ambassadors across the city, but more importantly, we have thousands of young people who plant, grow, monitor, and track the trees. Every tree has a unique identifier tag, and when it's planted, the person who plants it, the grower, takes a photo of the tree and uploads it onto a digital platform. So we have on www.freetowntreetracker.org our trees. And the payments are made to our growers as they periodically upload images of the trees. They are supported with training, they are paid, and thus we're creating good green jobs whilst also restoring or reforesting our city. We do that and have done that over the last 4 years with a number of challenges, but with immense success. I'm pleased to tell you that as of today, we've now planted and are tracking 1.2 million trees. And 2 weekends ago, to show how much we want communities to own and internalize this, not as a project, but as a new way of living, we did one of our biggest tree giveaways. We gave away 25,000 trees. We had 10 locations across the city. We had lots of publicity. We went door to door offering trees to homeowners, but also having stands where people could come on a Saturday and Sunday, pick up a tree and take that ownership. So trees have been planted along hillsides, trees have been planted along waterways, in cemeteries, in school compounds, in hospital compounds, but most significantly in people's backyards. And that matters when we're dealing and talking about heat stress. This really matters when we're talking about youth engagement And together with our communities, we're determined to see our city become green again. Another area of growth and resilience has been in sanitation. So sanitation, I know, has been and continues to be a major source of greenhouse gas emissions for those of us living in the developing world. But for us, as has been the case for Quezon City, that's a narrative we want to change. A narrative where we see sanitation improvements, both liquid and solid waste, converting into job opportunities, as well as improving the health conditions in our cities. And perhaps I was sharing yesterday, perhaps for me one of my most exciting and rewarding interventions has been the growth we've seen of liquid waste becoming part of our circular economy, creating jobs for vacuum truck operators, creating jobs for public space, public toilet operators, and actually having the fecal sludge, which is a nice name for what we all have to do every day, having the fecal sludge converted into briquettes, which are an alternative cooking fuel. So we now, as of hopefully by next month, will be able to produce 2,000 tons of briquettes made from fecal sludge on an hourly basis, replacing the use of charcoal and wood, which currently accounts for 82% of cooking fuel in our city. So in building resilience, we can only do this with communities. In addressing climate change and climate impact, we can only do this with the leadership, the involvement, and the commitment of our communities. Inclusive climate action is something that C40 has valued and has understood is the answer to the frontline change that we need. Climate change is a global crisis, but the response to climate change, the answer to climate change, is incredibly local. Local to the point not just of being led by cities, but being led by communities. Communities such as yourselves here in Quezon City. Today I'd like to stand as the C40 co-chair of the Global South and thank you for your commitment to being part of the answer, to be the solution. We have a long way to go, but it's every worker who is in the sanitation cycle, who has now a dignified job. Every urban farmer, such as the ones across Quezon City, and the 500 urban farms we've created in Freetown and will be expanding in order to address food security, but also to create green, good jobs. It's every one of you that will enable us to make the difference that needs to be made. We've got a ways to go, and it's an uphill task, but it's one I'm confident that we can do, we can overcome, we can make meaningful change and actually have the growth, the change, the impact that is needed for us to have a greener world. Quezon City community leaders, Barayanga. Can I say that one more time? If you say it to me, then I'll say it back to you. You got it. Thank you very much.